Lest we forget, the state continues to have an ever-increasing deficit, and it can, again, take money from cities. We are actively planning strategies to address our deteriorating financial situation. It is becoming likely that we will need to significantly change the way we deliver city services in the future. We will discuss our funding and service challenges in more detail when we see you again. The next few months will tell us quite a bit about where the city is going. In terms of next steps, with the economy changing so rapidly, we'll report to you more often as we get more information on our financial situation. We'll be presenting the mid-year review and framework for the fiscal year 2009-10 budget to you in mid-February. We will be back in mid-May with our fiscal year 2009-2010 budget recommendations, followed in early June by the first public hearing on the budget. Adoption of the fiscal year 2009-2010 budget is scheduled for early June. So now we would turn it to question and answers.
Well, we'll start with Council Member Chan, who is new to her, so she can ask all the questions she wants.
In the property tax reduction collections, how much do you think is attributed to the reassessment of homes?
In this fiscal year, it's a relatively small portion, not nearly as much as it will be in next fiscal year. Our assessed valuation for 8-9 was set as of January 1st, 2008. So we know that since that time, the world has changed significantly. So we expect when the new assessments are valued as of January 1st, 2009, we will see much more in the way of assessments downward.
There's no way of predicting or guesstimating how much that might be.
Our assessed valuation for this year was around 5%. Because of the assessment appeals downward, it dropped to, I'm sorry, Catherine is making sure that I give you the correct information. We were at close to 6 with our assessed valuation. Because of the appeals, that final valuation came in between 4.5% and 5%. Then when you compound that with the increased rates of delinquencies, that was the reason for metering our sales tax estimate, or I'm sorry, our property tax estimate downward. And again, because of the appeals that we expect to see next year and the effect of that on our property taxes, we have likewise revised our property tax estimate down for 9-10.
Because you're hearing that a lot of people are asking to have their properties reassessed. And then what about the delinquency rate then? If those, for example, the property taxes are going to be due, is it February?
They're due December 10th.
December 10th.
Yeah. April 10th.
Okay. So that revenue, how is it when it is paid? If it ultimately gets paid, is it sent to us piecemeal or as it's collected?
It's sent to us, the county remits property tax revenues to us periodically throughout the year. So as they make their distributions, they will send us those revenues along with any penalties and interest that result from the delinquent collections. It's the difficult thing is knowing when exactly it is that they will pay. So we will get all of our property tax revenue eventually. It's just now with the increased delinquency rate, it's taking a little bit longer.
And then as far as sales tax, we know that there's a decline in business, and so there's a decrease there. But what about any new businesses that might have established? I know Solyndra had just came in on board. Had we projected that?
I think when you prepare, when the finance director prepares their revenue estimates, some of that is a pretty precise formula based on how the economy is going, based on the previous year's experience. It's done in the aggregate of existing businesses. To get to your question, I think on top of that, there's a layer of significant new businesses that may generate revenue. And those can be really added on a case-by-case basis, imposed on the aggregate sort of number that we develop.
So we don't count on it, it's just a pleasant surprise?
No, we count on it to some extent. It depends on how long the business has been in, but we definitely count on it to the realistic extent that we should be.
And we also work with a sales tax consultant to help us with that estimating process.
Okay, that's all the questions I have right now. Thank you.
Okay. Anyone else?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. A couple of quick questions. In the 08-09 revenue transfer in projections, we have business tax licenses staying flat. Are we being a little optimistic there, or, I mean, as I would imagine, as businesses hit the pressures and some may close, or I just wanted to see if we're being a little too, you could say, not conservative there. Is that?
We have not adjusted that estimate downward for a couple of reasons. One is that we do have a pretty
Very
aggressive
active, yes,
business tax enforcement unit, which serves us well, and we also do work with an outside consultant as well to supplement those efforts. The other thing is that these business tax revenues that are reported are actually based on the prior year's their operating results. So there's a little bit of lag in terms of the numbers that they use to calculate their business tax due to us.
Same thing with franchise fees, because that's a portion of that I know is the residents paying their cable bills and that being added in, and then the garbage. Same thing on that we're not seeing too much of a downtick in that area.
No, we aren't. Our major franchises that contribute to that revenue are PG&E, gas and electric, the cable franchise, and garbage.
Okay. The TOT we talked about, not, although we'll be charging a higher rate, not seeing it. You said mostly because it was a room. I wasn't sure. Is it room rate, or is it they're not as filled as they would be, I guess, because I guess there's two components to it. It's either the
what we're seeing is that the occupancy is staying pretty steady for the moment. It's the room rate. It's the rates that are they're feeling the downward pressure.
And to kind of tag on to Councilmember Chan's question, if I remember correctly from last year when the foreclosure thing all came about, I think you said the county rate was something in the 4% range. What is the Fremont range? The Fremont rate?
They don't give us. Yeah, they don't give us that information. I would expect that our delinquency rate is not as high as the county-wide rate, but because of the way property taxes are apportioned, we share in the county-wide rate.
And could you refresh me on the way that is? It's a pool approach, correct? It's done if it's 4% countywide. Every city within the county is being shortchanged, if you will, 4% until that 4% kicks in, and then wherever it goes, it will be distributed with the penalties and interest, like you said.
That's correct. It all came about as a result of Proposition 13 that defined the way in which property tax revenues are allocated.
And I will admit, because I know he's not watching, a friend of mine, the assessor recently sent out that very nice brochure that had the assessed roll and all that stuff. Does that have their projections going forward, or is that more of a here looking back, if you will, retrospective of what we're at, a snapshot at this point in time?
It's a snapshot at this point in time.
Great, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you.